Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching Newsnight on DD India, your prime time destination for news and analysis. It's good to see you again. Right, on the show tonight, in a world that puts a premium on hard military power, India shows that soft power counts. India on Wednesday showcased the best of the Buddhist heritage, dipped into a wellspring of Buddhist philosophy to remind the world of the universal values of humanity and compassion. All that and much more coming up on Newsnight tonight. But first, as always, the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Kushinagar International Airport, says it is a tribute to the devotion of Buddhist society around the world. The Indian region is witness to the entire journey from the enlightenment of Lord Buddha to Mahaparini. The Prime Minister takes part in an event marking the Abhidhamma Day at the Mahaparini temple in Kushinagar, offers prayers to the Buddha, says Buddha's message is for the whole world, adds that Lord Buddha's message of Appadipo Bhava is the motivation for India to become self-reliant. The Prime Minister inaugurates and lays a foundation stone of development projects worth 460 crore rupees in Kushinagar, lays a foundation stone of a medical college, hits out at previous governments for indulging in corruption rather than ensuring people's welfare. The Prime Minister interacts with CEOs and experts of global oil and gas sector via video conferencing, focuses on encouraging exploration and production in the hydrocarbon sector in India, energy independence, gas-based economy and clean energy. Prime Minister Modi delivers a video message to a joint conference of CVC and CBI, says in the last 6 or 7 years, the government has succeeded in instilling the confidence that it is possible to contain corruption. Adds that today there is political will to attack corruption. The death toll in rain-related incidents in Uttrakhand climbs to 46. The National Disaster Response Force deploys 15 teams to assist in rescue and relief work. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami visits the affected areas. Union Home Minister Amit Shah to visit the state. India on the brink of administering 1 billion doses of the COVID-19 vaccines to cross the figure around Thursday noon. Health Ministry makes preparations for the historic moment. Announcement to be made simultaneously at public places. And in cricket, India beats Australia by 8 wickets in a T20 warm-up match. India loses only 2 wickets, chasing 152 runs scored by Australia. It is Team India's second consecutive win. Right, our cover story is about the inauguration of an international airport at Kushinagar. It's an important site for Buddhist pilgrims. A delegation from Sri Lanka led by Minister Namal Rajapaksa and diplomats from Myanmar, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Bhutan, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Mongolia, Japan, Singapore and Nepal were present on the occasion. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recalled the connections between India and Sri Lanka. He spoke about Emperor Ashoka's son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra taking the message of Buddhism to Sri Lanka. Rajapaksa in turn said Buddhism is the greatest gift Sri Lanka has received from India. Rajapaksa, along with a delegation comprising Buddhist monks carrying relics of Lord Buddha, was on the inaugural flight from Colombo that landed at Kushinagar.
भगवान बुद्ध ने कहा था अप्पदीपो भव, यही भारत के लिए आत्मनिर्भर बनने की प्रेरणा है। यही वो प्रेरणा है जो हमें दुनिया के हर देश के प्रगति में सहभागी बनाने की ताकत देगी।
The auspicious occasion of Abhidhamma Day, the place, the Mahaparini temple in Kushinagar. The day symbolizes the end of a 3-month rainy retreat, Varshavas or Vasa for the Buddhist monks. During Varshavasa, the monks were always on the move, stay at one place and pray. The reason for this season's pause is to not hinder the processes of nature in any way, so that the sprouting seed is not crushed by their movement. Wednesday saw Buddhist monks from Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, South Korea, Nepal, Bhutan, Cambodia all converge at the sacred land of the Buddha. Prime Minister Narendra Modi offered Chivar Dan to these monks on the occasion. Highlighting the universality of Lord Buddha's teachings, Prime Minister Modi said that when the world is facing acute environmental and climate change issues, solutions can be found by following Buddha's path.
वर्षावास न केवल बाहर की प्रकृति को प्रस्फुटित करता है, बल्कि हमारे अंदर की प्रकृति को भी संशोधित करने का अवसर देता है। आज जब दुनिया पर्यावरण संरक्षण की बात करती है, क्लाइमेट चेंज की चिंता जाहिर करती है, तो उसके साथ अनेक सवाल उठ खड़े होते हैं। लेकिन अगर हम बुद्ध के संदेश को अपना लेते हैं तो किसको करना है, इसकी जगह क्या करना है, इसका मार्ग अपने आप दिखने लगता है।
Buddha resides in the soul of humanity and connects different cultures and countries. Prime Minister's message was simple and universal. The sense of responsibility that comes from Lord Buddha's teaching is the key to overcoming the toughest of challenges and surging ahead for welfare of all.
बुद्ध का संदेश पूरे विश्व के लिए है। बुद्ध का धम्म मानवता के लिए है। इसलिए आज का ये दिन हम सभी देशों के सदियों पुराने सांस्कृतिक संबंधों को नई ऊर्जा देने का भी दिन है।
Inaugurating the Kushinagar International Airport, Prime Minister Modi gave the devotees visiting the Mahaparini Nirvana temple a gift to remember for the times to come. The Kushinagar International Airport has been constructed at an estimated cost of 260 crore rupees. The airport is an attempt to connect Buddhist pilgrimage centers around the world.
किसान हो, पशुपालक हो, दुकानदार हो, श्रमिक हो, यहाँ के उद्यमी हो, सभी को इसका सीधा सीधा लाभ मिलता ही है। इससे व्यापार कारोबार का एक पूरा इकोसिस्टम यहां विकसित होगा। इससे इस क्षेत्र के युवाओं के लिए रोजगार के भी अनेक नए अवसर बनेंगे।
Prime Minister Modi said Buddha's influence, visible in western, eastern and southern parts of our country in equal measures, will travel to the world.
भगवान बुद्ध ने जहां पहला उपदेश दिया, वो सारनाथ की भूमि भी 100-250 किलोमीटर के दायरे में ही आ जाती है। जहां बुद्ध को ज्ञान प्राप्त हुआ, वो बोध गया भी कुछ ही घंटों की दूरी पर है। ऐसे में ये क्षेत्र सिर्फ भारत के ही बौद्ध अनुयायियों के लिए ही नहीं, अनेकों देशों के नागरिकों के लिए भी एक बहुत बड़ा श्रद्धा का और आकर्षण का केंद्र बनने जा रहा है।
In keeping with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Buddha diplomacy and connecting with the immediate neighborhood and beyond, the occasion of Abhidhamma Divas took an entirely new meaning. In a post-COVID world, the boost to tourism with a spiritual connect will certainly lead to long-term sustainable development. In a symbolic gesture, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also planted a Bodhi tree sapling in Kushinagar. The Mahabodhi Tree at the Sri Mahabodhi Temple in Bodh Gaya is where Lord Buddha is said to have attained enlightenment. Vishal Baristo, Ashwini Mishra and Rajesh Raj's report for DD India.
Now, Buddhism is central to the civilizational connect between the peoples of India and countries in South and Southeast Asia. It was therefore only befitting that diplomats from Myanmar, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Bhutan, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Mongolia, Japan, Singapore and Nepal took part in the inauguration of the Kushinagar International Airport. Now, the airport is likely to boost tourism in Buddhist circuit. Other sites of Buddhist significance such as Shravasti, Kapilavastu and Lumbini are located nearby. So all these factors would attract a larger number of devotees to Kushinagar. My colleague Vishal Baristo spoke to some of the diplomats. Take a listen.
भारत विश्व भर के बौद्ध समाज की श्रद्धा का, आस्था का, प्रेरणा का केंद्र है। श्रीलंकन एयरलाइंस की फ्लाइट का कुशीनगर में उतरना इस पुण्य भूमि को नमन करने की तरह है।
The inauguration of the Kushinagar International Airport marked by the landing of the inaugural flight at the airport from Colombo carrying a Sri Lankan delegation of over 100 Buddhist monks and dignitaries, including the 12-member Holy Relic Entourage, bringing the Holy Buddha relics. The Buddhist Connect emerging as an important pillar of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Neighbourhood First policy.
Constructing this new airport and inauguration of the airport is very important to promote and propagate Buddhism and to enhance the relationship between Sri Lanka and India, because you know every year hundreds, thousands of people are coming from Sri Lanka to India to worship these places. So I guess Kushinagar will be activated as a center through which the pilgrims can, you know, go to a lot of places. So I think this is very convenient for all the pilgrims to reach Kushinagar before going to other places.
The relationship between India and Sri Lanka is very strong, and it's a great honor for us for myself and my delegation to be on the first inaugural flight to land at the Kushinagar International Airport. We must thank Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi for giving us a grant of $50 million to strengthen the Buddhist ties between the two countries.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi puts it, Mahatma Buddha ties together many nations.
मैंने देखा है कैंडी से क्योटो तक, हैनोई से हम्बनटोटा तक भगवान बुद्ध अपने विचारों के जरिए मठों, अवशेषों और संस्कृति के जरिए हर जगह है। इसी तरह साउथ ईस्ट कंट्रीज के भिक्षुओं का आशीर्वाद भी मुझे मिलता रहा है। अलग अलग देश, अलग अलग परिवेश, लेकिन मानवता की आत्मा में बसे बुद्ध सबको जोड़ रहे हैं।
Diplomats from 12 countries also expressed their happiness over the inauguration of an international airport at Kushinagar.
This is a very important development, not only for Kushinagar, the UP, Gorakhpur, but also for friendly neighbors and Buddhist country like Bhutan and all other Buddhist countries.
Singapore has a significant Buddhist population, and of course India is the birthplace of Buddhism. We hope that with this new airport, more of our pilgrims will have easier access to India and to UP.
A lot of pilgrims come to India. Now they can fly directly from Myanmar to Kushinagar, since this is an international airport. So it will greatly enhance, the people-to-people contact among two countries.
We already have about 100,000 Thai coming to India, and most of them come to Buddhist circuit, including Kushinagar. Definitely having the international flight and maybe in the future direct flight between Thailand and Kushinagar will be very helpful and facilitate the numbers of the Thai tourists coming here.
I hope that this will help more tourism from India and to Japan and other countries. We understand that we are in a difficult period of times right now. We are in the midst of COVID-19, but we are hopeful that the infrastructure development, including the new international airport, will help us.
3 years ago, when I first visited this place, I heard about this project of building a new terminal for the international airport, and now that project has come to be a reality. I would like to congratulate the government of India and the government of UP for this successful project.
Every year before COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of Cambodia pilgrims come to pay tribute, not only in Kushinagar, but in Varanasi. So I think that by the inauguration of the new airport of Kushinagar, maybe the connectivity between the two countries continue to further promote in terms of tourism, culture and religion.
Buddha is a link between Nepal and India. Whether development of this area and Buddhist sites will help to promote the relations between Hindus and Buddhists.
Since 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has gone the extra mile to rekindle India's ties with Buddhist countries. At the core of its shared spiritual heritage. But other positive spin-offs include increased people-to-people connect, tourism and enhanced strategic ties.
With
Vishal Barristo, Bureau Report, DD India.
Right, time now for our In Focus segment, in which we are discussing about Buddhist heritage propels India's soft power. And joining me are two very special guests, Professor Makhan Lal, an eminent historian, and Prafulla Ketkar, editor of the Organizer Weekly. Gentlemen, welcome to News Night. Professor Lal, if I can start with you, you're the preeminent historian on this panel, so may I start with you? Could you, for the benefit of viewers tuning in from India and abroad, watching this broadcast tonight, could you give them a historical perspective or overview of Buddhism from ancient to modern to present day India?
It's such a large span you have given me, but nevertheless I would try to compress it in a few minutes.
Sure.
12 countries diplomats and 12 countries representatives attending a simple function of inauguration of flight from Kushinagar. This itself speaks volume about the whole issue.
Right.
Something which should have been done right immediately after independence is being done after 75 years. But let me remind us, when we talk about Buddhism, we forget that Buddha is the 9th incarnation in the Hindus. So immediately after Krishna, another incarnation is Bhagwan Buddha. So Buddhism has been very much part and parcel of Hindu religion, and therefore something which should have been propagated, which should have been completely adopted by Hindus themselves. I am very pained to say that something which was recorded 2000 years, 3000 years before Christ, that Buddha is our 9th incarnation of God after Lord Krishna, before Lord Krishna Ram was there.
I'm afraid we've lost that link with Professor Lal. We'll fix that in just a bit. But if I can bring in my other guest, Prafulla Ketkar, in the discussion now. Prafulla Ketkar, we saw in our reportage there, diplomats from at least 12 countries took part in that event in Kushinagar. Now, Buddhism is practiced in some of those countries in South and Southeast Asia as well. And Kushinagar occupies a special place in the Buddhist pilgrimage and Buddhist tourism circuit as well. How do you look at the intersection of Buddhism, soft power and Indian diplomacy?
Good evening, Ramesh.
Welcome.
Please understand two things.
Right.
One is the infrastructural part of it. When the idea of Buddhist circuit was conceived, I had a brief interview with Mr. Nitin Gadkari, under whose ministry this infrastructural development of connecting this through road was conceived of. So Kushinagar is such a central place where, as Prime Minister pointed out, Lumbini, the birthplace, Bodh Gaya, where Tathagat Buddha attained enlightenment, Somanath, and Kushinagar, the Mahaparini Nirvana. So all these places are connected to Kushinagar, and that's why the centrality of Kushinagar infrastructurally is very important. But now see from the civilizational point of view. Kushinagar is a place where you are getting connected to Nepal, to Bhutan, to Myanmar. Today's day of Abhidhamma Day, where it is believed that the teachings was conveyed to the mother of Bhagwan Buddha. That is the most popular and most spiritually important event in Myanmar. We have seen the first flight coming from Sri Lanka with Buddhist monks. That shows, because the first message of Buddha through diplomatic means also was carried to Sri Lanka. Entire Southeast Asia up to Korea and Japan, the message of Dhamma and Dharma is seen from the same prism. Now, for the understanding of our viewers, we need to understand that the Parinirvana Stupa, the Nirvana statue of Buddha, where the statue of 6.10 meters is located, or the Nirvana Stupa, where the behind the main stupa, where all these things excavated around 1870s, 1880s. Since then, if you see the pilgrimage pattern, or you would understand the importance of this location. Like, for example, if I take just for last 4 years, pre-COVID, I will leave out 2021. In Uttar Pradesh, there is a 81% rise from 2018, 17-18 to 18-19. And out of that 81% rise of tourists, 27% is in Gorakhpur, Kushinagar area. Out of that, if I just calculate the foreign tourists, then the jump is threefold. Around 60-70,000 tourists to 250,000 tourists in just pre-COVID era we have seen in almost a year's time. This potential is much higher. Unfortunately, till now, if you see the connectivity towards Nalanda or Bodh Gaya was not very great when it comes to the international standards and foreign tourists. Now that is changed, one, because of the entire idea of developing this as a circuit in terms of infrastructural connectivity, and understanding the civilizational importance of this place, and connecting it to the routes, air routes also with the foreign countries.
Absolutely. Professor Lal, good to have you back on the discussion. Would you like to finish making a point before we proceed any further?
Actually, I'm sorry that light went off and I'm sitting in front of a normal light.
Please carry on.
I was saying that, look, Buddhism has not to be seen a separate identity than Hinduism. As I said that at least for the last 4,000 years, Buddha has been regarded as ninth incarnation of God. Even before Buddha came, it was talked in the literature that ninth incarnation is going to establish a different order within the Hindu class. What has deeply disturbed me, it has taken almost 75 years to recognize that these places are connected with ninth incarnation of our God. And I have been fortunate enough, being an archaeologist, being an historian, I have been fortunate enough to see Kushinagar, Lumbini, Kapilvastu, Bodh Gaya, Nalanda, Sarnath, etc. They were in utter neglect. I am using harsh words. And not only Kushinagar, Nalanda or Sarnath were utterly neglect. Most of the Hindu pilgrimage site, whether it was Varanasi, whether it is Prayagraj, whether it is Hastinapur, whether it is Aichhatra, in utter neglect. It has been a conscious policy of the government to do that, and I would like to remind our readers of 1953, why it happened so late. In 1953, there was a delegation from French people. They visited to Pondicherry and all other places, and then asked time from Jawaharlal Nehru to meet. And during the meeting, the delegation praised the Hindu culture, Hindu civilization, its ethos. It will shock you to know, and this what I am saying is published material in the black and white in print. Nehru said, "You are praising the very same thing I am trying to destroy." This is Jawaharlal Nehru saying that you are praising the very same thing I am trying to destroy. This was the situation, and today it's the happiest day that for a flight, inauguration of flight, a normal routine matter should be considered. But just look at delegates from 12 countries, nowhere else, nowhere else. You go to China, you go to Poland, you go to Russia, all these places I have seen each and every monuments, each and every museums, and all. They are very proud of it. But when it comes to our heritage, we take a very neglective view. After all, communists say, march forward, but why you are preserving St. Petersburg? Why you are preserving Hermitage? Why you are preserving all other things? Destroy them. So it's very strange. I'm very happy as a historian, as an archaeologist, that something what should have happened right after the incident is happening now. And honestly, as a man of heritage, I think India's independence has come now for the last 7 years, 8 years.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, India's heritage was hosted to certain kind of ideology, to certain kind of thinking and preconceived notion.
Indeed. Professor Lal, I want to recall what the Prime Minister said in his remarks this morning. If I can quote from his speech there, he said, Kushinagar International Airport is a tribute to the devotion of Buddhist society around the world. And he also said, there is a special focus on the development of the places associated with Lord Buddha through better connectivity and the creation of facilities for the devotees, unquote. Your thoughts on these aspects, Professor Lal?
Absolutely, that is what I was saying, that this has been long overdue. I have been to Kushinagar at least 4 times. All you could do is to go to Gorakhpur, and from there, rickety cars, roads in the ponds, roads in the ditches, that kind of situation existed, and a 35-40 kilometers distance would take 2 hours to go. This should have been taken note of. Nalanda remains back foot still. I have been there. Just go to Nalanda. Nowhere in the world, nowhere, I am repeating, I have seen enough of it. Nowhere in the world a university existed in 6th century BC of that scale as Nalanda is. Hundreds of buildings of the dimension 100 meter by 100 meter each building, but remains neglected. Similarly, go to Lumbini, go to Kapilvastu. These are unconnected because nobody bothered about it. They were left, people were left, memory of the Buddha was left just to the God. I am very happy that India's position, Buddha's position is being reiterated. 11 countries, and just say what Buddha's tribute is. Permanent representative of China in UN said, India conquered China 2000 years back without sending a single soldier. If China says that, permanent representative says that, should we not be proud of this?
Absolutely.
Should we not do enough to perpetuate the memory of such a thing for generations to come?
Indeed. Prafulla Keskar, I want to quote from another extract from the Prime Minister's speech, and this would amplify the point you were making earlier. He said, tourism in all its forms, whether for faith or for leisure, needs modern infrastructure complete with rail, road, airways, waterways, hotels, hospitals, internet connectivity, hygiene, sewage treatment and renewable energy, ensuring a clean environment, All these are interconnected, and it is important to work on all these simultaneously. Today's 21st century India is moving ahead with this approach only, unquote. So this, in the Prime Minister's worldview, is a win-win proposition. Tourism, infrastructure development, jobs, employment creation, and also diplomacy, isn't it?
Absolutely. Ramesh, see, this is what is called as the integrated approach. You cannot have a piecemeal approach when you are thinking about development. Now, one airport coming in such a spiritually important heritage site, where you have a Thai temple, you have a Indo-Japan Sri Lanka temple, you have a Mata Bhagwati temple, besides the most important place for Buddhists all over the world, where you have a most majestic and spiritually most vibrant place of reclining Buddha, where Bhagwan Buddha is supposed to have attained the Mahaparini Nirvana. In such a place, you are not having hotel facility, you are not having road connectivity, you are not having air connectivity, is basically not just about the people who are visiting there, but also the people who are living around. They will never understand and understand the worth of that place and conserve that if the enough infrastructure is not provided to them. So, and cultural diplomacy, Ramesh, always understand that it is a very costly affair. But in the long run, it is the most effective affair. Diplomatically, hard diplomacy, whether military or political, requires one-to-one, state-to-state level talk. But when it comes to cultural diplomacy, it is the public level perception that you build. And every foreign tourist visiting India to Kushinagar area, seeing the infrastructure, and at the same time experiencing the civilizational heritage of Buddha's Dhamma, both these things make that visitor India's unofficial cultural ambassador.
Absolutely. On that note, please. Indeed. On that note, may I thank, Professor Lal, very quickly, please.
Just one line.
Sure.
We must realize that places like Lumbini, like Kushinagar, like Nalanda are having the same importance for Buddhists and Hindu as Makkah and Medina for Muslims and Jerusalem for Christians and others. So we must give respect. After all, Lord Buddha is a God for Buddhists. And Prophet never said that he is God, he is only messenger. If his messenger's place is so important, why not God himself's place?
Absolutely. On that note, may I thank both my guests, Professor Makhan Lal and Prafulla Ketkar, for making time for us here at DD India. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, shifting focus to other stories we are tracking here on News Night Tonight. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla says the inauguration of the airport will strengthen India's ties with countries in its immediate and extended neighborhood. My colleague Vishal Baristo spoke exclusively to Foreign Secretary Shringla. Listen in.
Representatives of 12 countries have witnessed this historic occasion. How do you feel about it?
Well, today, as you say, is a very historic day. We had a very important delegation from Sri Lanka. We had the Minister of Youth and Sports, Shri Namal Rajpakse, along with a number of other cabinet ministers of Sri Lanka, and a 100-member delegation of senior monks from Sri Lanka who had come in. They also carried with them relics of Lord Buddha, which is there in the Vaskaduga monastery in Sri Lanka. These are very sacred relics which actually are part of the Kapilvastu relics. And to bring them to Kushinagar, which is the area, which is the place where Lord Buddha attained Mahaparini Nirvana, is, I think, very, very symbolic. We were also very happy that as many as 12 ambassadors and representatives of Buddhist countries from our neighborhood, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, from our extended neighborhood, attended this ceremony. I think all of them felt that this is an important occasion because it also not only demonstrated the links between India and the bridge of Buddhism between India and the rest of the world, but also enabled easy access for Buddhist pilgrims, tourists from all over the world to come directly to Kushinagar.
How crucial is today's day as far as strengthening the diplomatic ties with our neighboring countries and also in the extended neighborhood?
Well, it's a very important day from the point of view that India is the land of Lord Buddha, the land of Buddhism. Honorable Prime Minister in his speech mentioned that for every Buddhist living outside India, it is always a desire to come to India and visit the sites that have been associated with Lord Buddha. By commemorating this day, we are actually felicitating that link of Buddhism between India and Southeast Asia and the rest of the world.
There you heard the Foreign Secretary. He makes it very clear that today's day will mark an important chapter as far as strengthening the bilateral ties with cameraman Jaishankar in Kushinagar. This is Vishal Baristo, DD India.
Right, in other news, Prime Minister Modi took part in a public function at Barwa Jungle, Kushinagar. He laid the foundation stone of a medical college to be built at a cost of over 280 crore rupees. The medical college will have a 500-bed hospital and admit 100 students in the 2022-2023 academic session. The Prime Minister also inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of 12 other development projects worth over 180 crore rupees.
नगर में राजकीय मेडिकल कॉलेज बनने से आपको अब इलाज के लिए एक नई सुविधा मिल गई है। बिहार के सीमावर्ती इलाकों को भी इसका लाभ मिलेगा। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति जो नई लाए है ना, उसमें निर्णय किया है। आजादी के 75 साल के बाद पहली बार निर्णय हुआ है कि अब अपनी मातृभाषा में पढ़ने वाला बच्चा भी, गरीब मां का बेटा भी डॉक्टर बन सकता है।
And Prime Minister Modi hit out at previous governments for indulging in corruption rather than ensuring welfare of people. He accused the Samajwadi Party of putting family above all else.
पहले सरकार चला रहे थे, उन्होंने गरीब के दर्द की परवाह नहीं की। पहले की सरकार ने अपने कर्म को घोटालों से जोड़ा, अपराधों से जोड़ा कि इन लोगों की पहचान समाजवादियों की नहीं, परिवारवादी की बन गई। इन लोगों ने सिर्फ अपने परिवार का भला किया, समाज का और उत्तर प्रदेश का हित भूल गए।
Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday interacted with CEOs and experts of the global oil and gas sector via video conferencing. It is the 6th such annual interaction since 2016. The meeting explored potential areas of collaboration and investments in India. The broad theme of the interaction was promotion of clean growth and sustainability. The interaction also focused on areas such as exploration and production in hydrocarbon sector in India, energy independence, gas-based economy, reduction of emissions through clean and energy efficient solutions, green hydrogen economy, biofuels and waste to wealth creation. The CEOs and experts from leading multinational corporations and top international organizations took part in this exchange of ideas. And Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday addressed a joint conference of Central's Vigilance Commission and the Central Bureau of Investigation via video conferencing. In his address, the Prime Minister highlighted his government's efforts at stopping corruption. He said his government has succeeded in creating confidence within the nation that it is possible to check corruption. He added that today India believes that it is possible to benefit from government-run welfare programs without taking the help of middlemen.
बीते 6-7 सालों के निरंतर प्रयासों से हम देश में एक विश्वास कायम करने में सफल हुए हैं कि बढ़ते हुए करप्शन को रोकना संभव है। आज देश को ये विश्वास हुआ है कि बिना कुछ लेन देन के, बिना बिचौलिए के भी सरकारी योजनाओं का लाभ मिल सकता है। और आज देश को ये भी विश्वास हुआ है कि देश को धोखा देने वाले, गरीब को लूटने वाले कितने भी ताकतवर क्यों ना हो, देश और दुनिया में कहीं भी हो, अब उन पर रहम नहीं किया जाता, सरकार उनको छोड़ती नहीं है।
The Prime Minister said that his government aims to make India self-reliant over the next 25 years. He said the government is working to strengthen good governance by making it pro-people and proactive.
सरदार पटेल ने हमेशा गवर्नेंस को भारत के विकास का, जन सरोकार का, जनहित का आधार बनाने को सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता दी थी। आज हम भारत की आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव मना रहे हैं। आने वाले 25 वर्ष यानी इस अमृत काल में आत्मनिर्भर भारत के विराट संकल्पों की सिद्धि की तरफ देश बढ़ रहा है। आज हम गुड गवर्नेंस को एक प्रकार से गुड गवर्नेंस, प्रो पीपल, प्रोएक्टिव गवर्नेंस को सशक्त करने में जुटे हैं।
Prime Minister Modi said that modern thinking in the India of the 21st century stresses upon using technology for human welfare. He said the new India innovates, initiates and implements. The new India is not ready to believe that corruption is a part of the system. He further said it wants a transparent system, an efficient process and a smooth governance.
Maximum control, चाहे वो घर में हो, परिवार में हो या फिर देश में, मैक्सिमम डैमेज करता ही है। इसलिए हमने देशवासियों के जीवन से सरकार के दखल को कम करने को एक मिशन के रूप में काम लिया है। हमने सरकारी प्रक्रियाओं को सरल बनाने के लिए निरंतर प्रयास किए। मैक्सिमम गवर्नमेंट कंट्रोल के बजाय मिनिमम गवर्नमेंट, मैक्सिमम गवर्नेंस पर फोकस किया।
The Prime Minister also said that modern thinking in the India of the 21st century, as I mentioned before, uses human technology for people's welfare.
ट्रस्ट और टेक्नोलॉजी से एफिशिएंट गवर्नेंस और ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस पर क्या असर हुआ है, ये आप सभी भली भांति जानते हैं। परमिशन और कंप्लायंस के नाम पर, बिजनेस को शुरू करने और बंद करने के नाम पर, बैंकों से लोन लेने या लोन को रफा दफा करने को लेकर जो कुछ भी अतीत में हुआ है, जो देश को नुकसान हुआ है, उसे अब ठीक किया जा रहा है। बीते सालों में सैकड़ों ऐसे पुराने कानूनों के जाल को हमने साफ किया है और आज की चुनौतियों को देखते हुए सख्त नए कानून भी देश को दिए हैं।
Right, moving on, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the Infosys Foundation Vishram Sadan at the National Cancer Institute in Jajjar campus of AIIMS, New Delhi on the 21st. So as I mentioned, he will inaugurate the Infosys Foundation Vishram Sadan at the National Cancer Institute in the Jajjar campus of AIIMS, New Delhi on 21st via video conferencing. It will be followed by his address on the occasion. Now, the 806-bedded Vishram Sadan has been constructed by Infosys Foundation as a part of corporate social responsibility to provide air-conditioned accommodation facilities to the accompanying attendants of the cancer patients who often have to stay in hospitals for longer duration. It's been constructed by the foundation at a cost of about 93 crore rupees. It is located in close proximity to the hospital and OPD blocks of the National Cancer Institute. Right, moving on, the death toll in rain-related incidents in Uttarakhand has climbed to 46. 11 people are missing. The Uttarakhand government has announced a compensation of 400,000 rupees for the family of the deceased. The National Disaster Response Force has deployed 15 teams to assist in rescue and relief works. Meanwhile, the India Met Department has removed an orange alert for the entire state of Kerala, but it has issued an orange alert for the 3 districts of Pathanamthitta, Kottayam and Idukki for Thursday.
The situation is slowly getting back to normal in Uttarakhand as rainfall has slowed down in the state. However, rainfall with resultant landslides has left a trail of destruction. Roads have been washed away, rail routes too have been affected and bridges have collapsed. Kumaon is the worst affected region. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami conducted on-site inspection of rain-affected districts of Nainital, Almora, Champavat and Udham Singh Nagar. He visited the rain-hit areas of Garhwal and Kumaon regions.
देखिए बारिश कुछ कम हुई है और उससे स्थितियां हमारी जन सामान्य जो है ठीक होने की ओर है, लेकिन नुकसान अभी भी बहुत हो रखा है। उसको सामान्य होने में भी काफ़ी दिन लगेगा। सड़कें पूरी की पूरी बह गई हैं, भूस्खलन हो गया है, नदियों ने अपना मार्ग बदल दिया है, गांव के गांव जो है उससे प्रभावित हुए हैं, पुल टूट गए हैं, खेतों को किसानों को भी बहुत बड़ी हानि हुई है, उद्योग धंधों में जो है सभी जगह जो है पानी की मार पड़ी है, बरसात और अतिवृष्टि का बहुत नुकसान हुआ है।
The Chief Minister also announced compensation of 4 lakh rupees for the families of the deceased. 10 crore rupees each has been sanctioned for all DMs as relief fund. Relief and rescue operations are underway in the affected areas of the state. 3 Indian Air Force helicopters also carried out relief and rescue operations.
हमारी टीमें दिल्ली से मूव की गई, देहरादून और देहरादून से फिर आगे फॉरवर्ड एरियाज़ में उन्हें मूव किया गया है, प्रीपोजिशन किया गया है और स्थिति को देखते हुए उत्तर प्रदेश से भी हमने 2 टीमें मंगाई हैं। आज की स्थिति में हमारी 17 टीमें कुल पूरे उत्तराखंड में काम कर रही हैं।
Meanwhile, national highways connecting Gangotri, Yamunotri and Kedarnath have been reopened for vehicular movement.
रोड ओपनिंग के लिए सभी हमारा एजेंसीज है, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम PWD, NH, वो सभी लगे हुए हैं। सो चारधाम भी उसी तरह का रोड ग्रीन होने के बाद इमीडिएटली पिलग्रिम्स को आने जाने के लिए अलाउ किया जाएगा।
Tourists had to face problems due to heavy rain and landslide during the last 3 days in Uttarakhand.
कल दोपहर में आए थे, दोपहर में 12-1 बजे यहाँ तक पानी थे, लोवर ऊबर सारे खोल के मतलब जूते वूते लेके, और जैसे ही यहाँ तक गाड़ी उड़ी आती तो मतलब यहाँ तक पानी आ जाते थे। काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम फेस करना पड़ा।
बहुत जगह ट्रैफिक जाम रहा और कई जगह भूस्खलन हुआ है, तो दिक्कतें बहुत आई लोग। चीजें हर की प्रशासन ने खाने की व्यवस्था की, कुछ चीजों की व्यवस्था प्रशासन ने की।
Meanwhile, Union Home Minister Amit Shah will hold a review meeting to take stock of the damage done in Uttarakhand. On the other hand, India Meteorological Department has removed orange alert for Kerala on Wednesday. However, IMD has issued orange alert for districts of Pathanamthitta, Kottayam and Idukki for Thursday. IMD also said that with likely setting in of northeasterly winds in the lower tropospheric levels over Bay of Bengal and extreme South Peninsular India, the southwest monsoon is likely to withdraw from entire country around 26th of October. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, India will soon cross the 100 crore vaccine mark. Vaccination had crossed the 99 crore or the 999 million mark on Tuesday. It's expected to cross the 100 crore or the 1 billion vaccination figure between 10 a.m. and noon on Thursday. The Ministry of Health has made preparations for this historic moment. The announcement will be made simultaneously at airports, aircraft, ship, ports, bus stands, metro and railway stations. 100 historical buildings across the country have been lit up with the colors of the national flag to mark the occasion. There will also be a ceremony at the Red Fort in New Delhi to mark this occasion. So as I said, India is inching ever closer to administering 1 billion doses of the COVID-19 vaccines. The recovery of 19,446 patients in the last 24 hours has increased the total tally of recovered patients to 33.47 million. Consequently, India's recovery rate stands at 98.15%. The recovery rate is at its highest since March 2020. Sustained and collaborative efforts by the union and state governments have ensured that less than 50,000 daily new cases have been reported for the last 115 days now. 14,623 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. The active case total has fallen below the 200,000 mark. It's currently at 178,098, which is the lowest in 229 days. Active cases constitute 0.52% of the country's total positive cases. Moving on, India has expressed its strong opposition to China's Belt and Road Initiative and its flagship project, the so-called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, at the just concluded second UN Global Sustainable Transport Conference in Beijing. The first secretary at the Indian Embassy in Beijing, Priyanka Sohoni, while stating India's position, hit out at China's BRI, where her mic surprisingly went silent precisely at the point when she was highlighting New Delhi's objection to the controversial projects. The sudden mic failure at the UN conference, hitherto going on smoothly, created a flutter and took several minutes to restore, after which Indian statement could be completed. Expressing India's concerns on BRI, she said India is uniquely affected by it. She said its inclusion of the so-called CPEC as a flagship project impinges on India's sovereignty, and no country can support an initiative that ignores its core concerns of sovereignty and territorial integrity. She also said, this aside, there are also larger issues regarding how connectivity initiatives should be pursued. She said, we are of the firm belief that connectivity initiatives must be based on universally recognized international norms. They must follow principles of openness, transparency, and financial responsibility. It was at this juncture that a microphone stopped working, making it impossible for Chinese and international delegates to hear her. Meanwhile, continuing with its push to augment defense forces and preparation, the Indian Army has deployed upgraded L-70 air defense guns at the LAC in Arunachal Pradesh. The Indian Army's Captain Saria Abbasi, a troop commander with an Army Air Defense Regiment, has been deployed near the contested LAC in Tawang sector. Her unit is one of the first air defense regiments in the country to be equipped with upgraded L-70 air defense guns deployed at forward location along the line of actual control near Tawang area in Arunachal Pradesh. In world news, North Korean state media on Wednesday reported that the country successfully tested a quote-unquote new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile. Now, a proven submarine-based missile capability would take the North's arsenal to a new level, allowing deployment far beyond the Korean peninsula and a second strike capability in the event of an attack on its military bases. Now, Washington, D.C., Seoul and Tokyo have all condemned the launch.
Tension is palpable in the Korean peninsula, and the intensity is increasing in a steep upward graph with each passing day. Separated by a border demarcated at the onset of the Cold War, the two Koreas are exhibiting an unrelentless ability to develop more and more weapons. North Korea, the aggressor of the two, has accepted that it had test-fired a new ballistic missile from a submarine on Wednesday, a day after authorities in South Korea and Japan detected an apparent weapons test. Analysts noted that photos released by North Korea appeared to show a thinner missile than the earlier SLBM designs, meaning more but shorter range missiles could be stored on a single submarine and potentially putting nuclear-armed North Korea closer to fielding an operational ballistic missile submarine. South Korea is also on high alert, and statements and actions suggest the same defiant tone. South Korean President Moon Jae-in told a military expo on the outskirts of Seoul on Wednesday that it should redouble its efforts to become a global defense industry leader. To make a statement that left no doubt about the posture, Moon landed on the site in an Air Force fighter jet. Clad in a flight suit, Moon arrived at the biennial Seoul International Aerospace and Defense Exhibition in the back seat of an FA-50 fighter jet, South Korea's first indigenous supersonic aircraft and a major defense export. Moon also defended the South's increasingly sophisticated military as necessary for peace. The military display came a day after North Korea test-fired a ballistic missile from a submarine. Amid glittering displays of drones, sniper rifles, helicopters, missiles and other weapons, crowds of company representatives, diplomats and South Korean troops mixed with military delegations in an array of foreign uniforms. At least 440 companies from 28 countries are participating in the largest ADEX ever. Meanwhile, South Korea's first domestically produced space launch vehicle Nuri was moved to a launch pad on Wednesday. The three-stage Nuri rocket, designed by Korea Space Research Institute to eventually put 1.5-ton payloads into orbit 600 to 800 kilometers above the Earth, will carry a dummy satellite into space on Thursday. It will be important for South Korea's plans to launch surveillance satellites into orbit in what national security officials have called a constellation of unblinking eyes to monitor North Korea, as the South has remained almost totally reliant on the United States for satellite intelligence on its northern neighbor. Bureau Report, DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap. But news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.